Hello students, standard 7th, chapter number 11, perimeter and area. Up to now we discussed about the perimeter of and area of the simple figures like square, a rectangle, a triangle, a parallelogram, and some regular hexagon and so on. Now, if you notice that these all shapes have the flat surfaces. Not only the flat surfaces, but they have the boundaries as line segments. So in such case, it is easier to find the perimeter, because perimeter is length of boundary. If the boundary is made by the line segment, then we can measure each line segment using the ruler, and by adding the all sides we can easily find out the perimeter. But now we have to go for a circle. We know that a circle is a flat surface, but its boundary is curved. Its boundary is curved. Let me give you some examples. Here you can see that the edge of this lid of the plastic container, it is round in the shape. Now, can you use ruler to find the length of the boundary? Because perimeter means what? Boundary. So now it is not easy using a ruler to find the length of the boundary. The perimeter of the circle is known as the circumference of the circle. So now perimeter means the circumference of the circle. It is not easier to find, because in our daily situations, daily life, we need to measure the length of this boundary. For example, here the track for the runners in athletics, the track field is in the shape of rectangle, and both sides there is semicircles. So now at a straight part it is easier to find the length, but this length is curved length. Is it easier to find with the ruler? No, it is quite difficult. But we have the idea for that also. Similarly, suppose there is a different size of cards, circular cards, and somebody want to put a lace around it for the decoration. Now, she want to buy the lace for such cards to decorate. Then now we need to measure the length of the lace required for one card. And then if we want to make 100 cards, 20 cards, 50 cards, according to that we will buy the lace. So now, as I told you, we cannot directly use the ruler to find the length of the card. So what should we do? We have an idea that take that cardboard of the circular and then make a marking like this that I did. Now what we have to do? We have to put this cardboard on the piece of paper. Suppose this is the marking. What we have to do? We have to put in on it such that that marking is at the bottom like this. Now what we have to do? We have to move this cardboard around we have to draw first a line, straight line. Suppose this is the cardboard and that is the marking. Draw a line. Draw a line, and then what we have to do? That put that marking exactly on the beginning of the line. And then on this straight line, move this cardboard on the line. Until what time? When this your marking come back to here. So it will move like that and come back to this position. So here one full circulation is done. So here the length from here to here, that will show you the circumference of this circle. So as I told you that we can use this idea to find the circumference of the circle. So by marking, put it on the board or a card or a pen, paper, and move on the straight line so that it complete the one revolution, exact one. And then from this point to this point, we have to measure the length. That will be the circumference, means the length of the lace required to cover one is like that, and according to that you can buy that lace. But now, is it possible every time to do that? This is a small card, not a problem. But if it is a big card or big something, and we have to find the measure of that boundary. So it is not always possible to do like that. Therefore, the mathematician, they find out some observations. They draw smaller and bigger and different size of circles with different radius. Now, then they observed that every time when they find the ratio of diameter and the circumference and diameter, C and D. If C is the circumference and D is the diameter, then for each size of circle, they find out that they observe that C upon D, C divided by D ratio is almost equal, and the value of C upon D was almost nearly after 3 point something. Sometimes a little change can be there, but almost the value of the C upon D. C upon D means the circumference and the diameter is always equal. So now what happens? That they find out some relation between that. Because as I told you that sometimes a farm can be also in circular shape. Sometimes you see that our disc antenna is also have a circle. So now for all circles, sometimes our watches, clocks, wall clocks are also circle. And then to decorate them, we cannot every time do that. Because in our daily life, there will be so many situations in which we need to find the circumference of the circle. And therefore, we need a formula. As we find out the formula for the square and rectangle, we saw that the perimeter of square is length plus length 4 times. So we find out the formula 4 times the side of the 4L. Similarly, we see that in the rectangle, there are 2 times length, 2 times breadth. So perimeter of the rectangle we obtain in the form of 2 into bracket L plus B, because 2 times length and 2 times breadth are there. Similarly, for the triangle, if it is an equilateral triangle, regular polygon, then 3 times the side, because all the 3 sides are of equal length. So as I told you that in this situation, all were the boundary made by the straight lines, and therefore it was very easier to use a measure tape or a ruler to find out the perimeter. And for the circle or the semicircle, we can see that if there is a small circle, we can easily do the required thing that I already explained to you. Now, as I told you that to find out the circumference properly, they noticed that the ratio means they find out the length of the boundary and the diameter of that circle. They took different size of circle, smaller radius with bigger radius, and so on. And noticed that every time the value of C upon D is nearly approximately same, nearly 3.14 something. Not accurate, but a little minor difference is there. And then they introduce a new symbol for that ratio. C upon D is constant, and that constant they denoted by the Greek alphabetic word, that is the pi. Pi is like that. You write down that one and put a line segment on it. You put 2 lines like that and put a line on it, and that is the read as pi, pi. So the ratio C upon D is always equal to the pi, and the value of pi is taken as either the 22 upon 7 or 3.14. It will be mentioned in the example. If it is not mentioned, you will take 22 upon 7. If they need to take 3.14, 3.14, then it will be given in the bracket that you should use the value of pi as 3.14. But if the value is not mentioned, then you have to understand that it is the normal value, that is 22 upon 7. And remember, this is not the perfect value. We cannot get perfect value of pi, about which you will learn in the higher standards. So these two values are taken, 22 upon 7 or the 3.14, that are the approximate values, so that we can have convenience to find out the calculations. Now as we saw that C upon D is equal to pi. What is C here? C is the circumference. What is D here? D is the diameter. So now we got C upon D is constant, and that constant is taken as pi. So now if you take D that side, what will you get? We get C is equal to pi multiplied by D. It means that it is the formula to find the circumference. What formula we get? We get the formula circumference of a circle C is equal to pi multiplied by D. Pi is 22 upon 7 or 3.14, and D is the diameter of the circle. So if we multiply D with 22 upon 7 or 3.14, then definitely we can find the circumference without doing that thing. So we get the formula, circumference of circle C is equal to pi into D. But we know that sometimes diameter is not given. if the radius is none, we know what is the relation between diameter and radius of the circle. We know that diameter is the double of the radius. Means d is equal to 2 multiplied by r. So here in place of d we can write down 2 into r. 2 we can write down in the beginning. So we get another formula that circumference of circle is 2 pi r. So you can use any of the formula. You can use pi multiplied by d also, or you can use 2 pi r also according to the situation. If the radius is given, you can use the formula 2 pi r, and if the diameter is given, then also by finding radius you can use the same, or you can use the formula pi into d. So only the required thing is the value of either the radius or the diameter of the circle. So if you know the radius or if you know the diameter of the circle, doesn't matter the circle is how big or how small. We can use the simple calculation to find out the perimeter or the circumference of the circle. So we can use this either of the formula C is equal to pi into d or 2 pi r, depending on which value is given. Or you can remember only 2 pi r. If the diameter is given, we know that the value of diameter is double of the r. So radius can be found by dividing the diameter by 2, and we get the value. So here we learned today about the circle and circumference of the circle. If it is semicircle, we have to divide by 2, half only. So for that we can use the proper calculation to find out the circumference. Here we are going to finish the session. I hope you understand everything, and it will be followed in the PDF. If you have any confusion about this, you can write out your comments in the comment section. Thank you very much.